Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. Bei Bei came to Huo Yuhao's side. When he saw the ice-sealed evil soul master, he couldn't bother with blaming Huo Yuhao anymore. After all, it was possible to obtain information about Tang Yue from this evil soul master. Even though he was normally very composed, his breathing got heavier now. Bei Bei lowered his voice and asked, "Can he still recover after being frozen?" Huo Yuhao said, "He'll be fine if it's within the short term. However, he has been frozen for quite a while. I didn't expect to be unconscious for so long. Now I'm not confident anymore. However, logically speaking, I still have a chance. After all, this evil soul master is a soul sage. Even if he's frozen, his soul power can still protect his body. Let me give it a try." As he spoke, Huo Yuhao lifted his right hand and pressed against the ice statue. Gentle ice elements were sucked out under his meticulous control, fusing into his body. This was his second time circulating his soul power after waking up from his coma. Right now, he was much more aware than he had been when he had just woken up. Suddenly, he felt how consolidated his soul power was. It wasn't just his soul power. His spiritual power had increased too. His soul core had become more and more abstruse, as if it were one with the boundless sky around it. This soul core could devour all like a black hole. What did Long Xiaoyao do to me? Why do I feel such an obvious improvement in my powers? No, when I'm free, I'll need to take a look in the academy and see how strong my soul power has become. The ice statue slowly melted under Huo Yuhao's immaculate control. However, no water dripped out. Under Huo Yuhao's control, the ice elements vaporized into the air as soon as the ice melted. This was why the room seemed a little moister than usual. Slowly, the ice disappeared. The original form of the evil soul master was also revealed. His complexion became softer, but his bodily functions were still not working. Very soon, the ice melted completely. Huo Yuhao's eyes turned dim gray, and he muttered a few incantations. After this, he smacked the evil soul master's left chest. It was his third martial soul, his necromancer martial soul. Huo Yuhao couldn't use his ultimate ice, or spirit ice spiritual power, to summon this evil soul master. Otherwise, the other party would develop a great resistance against it due to the massive difference in the elemental types, and it would harm him. At such a moment, the powers of his necromancer martial soul would be useful. To some extent, a part of Huo Yuhao's powers belonged to the same origins as evil soul masters when he used his necromancer martial soul. A dark and sinister power surged into the evil soul master's body, stimulating his heart. The pressure exerted on his heart caused his blood to flow once again. Under Huo Yuhao's control, his blood started to flow with some rhythm once again. After this, Huo Yuhao started to summon his brain. Everything around him became distorted. Huo Yuhao was using his imitation right now. His imitation combined with his spiritual interference domain, causing the lights in Bei Bei's office to dim. In addition, the entire room was filled with a sinister aura. Huo Yuhao shot a look at Bei Bei. Bei Bei nodded and called Nan Qiuqiu to a dark corner of the room. Although she didn't know what Huo Yuhao was going to do, she knew that he must have some plan to deal with the evil soul master. Just like what Huo Yuhao had mentioned, the life energy of an evil soul master, who was a soul sage, was very strong. This evil soul master's heartbeat was slowly returning to normal. It was enough to send blood to all parts of his body. He was also slowly regaining his awareness. Huo Yuhao was delighted. It seemed like this evil soul master hadn't suffered any real harm. In this way, he was more confident in waking this evil soul master from his sleep. His vital signs were all fine. He wasn't too heavily hurt from Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice. Huo Yuhao retrieved a huge black veil from his storage-type soul tool before he put it on. He felt even more sinister and mysterious right now. Dim grayish air currents revolved around him. As he lifted his left hand, he used his imitation to form a magic staff with a skull-shaped gem at the top of it. He stood there silently and waited. Finally, that evil soul master slowly regained consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he suddenly felt that he was in a comfortable environment. Furthermore, there were even rings of air revolving around him, supporting his body so that he didn't fall. Where is this place? He was evidently a little confused, as he had just awoken. Huo Yuhao's voice became low-pitched and hoarse. He coldly said, "Are you asking where you are?" As he spoke, he snorted, and his immense spiritual power gently touched the evil soul master's head. The evil soul master was shocked, and immediately regained even further awareness. When he saw Huo Yuhao and the greyish current around him, he was shocked. Huo Yuhao was exuding a very strong spectral aura. Right now, the undulations that Huo Yuhao had managed to imitate were actually those of a titled Doluo. He was the most adept at this. He was imitating his own teacher, Electrolux, right now. Even though he didn't have the same divine sense as Electrolux, he could still imitate his aura. This evil soul master wasn't fully conscious, and his soul power was still in the process of recovery. His senses weren't very acute. It was like the break of dawn, when someone just woke up from their sleep. He only felt as if Huo Yuhao were extremely strong, but his aura was the same. It was the aura of evil soul masters. The evil soul master was unsure as he asked, You are? You don't need to know who I am. Huo Yuhao said coldly, "You just need to tell me what happened. Why did you faint by the side of the palace? Who knocked you out?" The evil soul sage subconsciously answered, "A soul sage invaded the palace and killed one of my subordinates. After I discovered him, I immediately chased him. I gained the upper hand at first, but that person suddenly turned around. I fell into a trance before my entire body felt very cold. After that, I don't know what happened. Are you telling the truth? Did you miss anything?" Huo Yuhao said coldly. At the same time, he was also silently unleashing his spiritual power to influence the evil soul sage's mind. "Of course I am. Who exactly are you?" The evil soul sage seemed to clear his mind at this moment. He also looked a little skeptical as he looked at Huo Yuhao. "You don't have to care who I am." Huo Yuhao answered, "I already said that knowing more won't help you. You just need to know that sect leader Zhong Li sent me over to supervise all of you. You're from the Imperial Shrine." The evil soul sage seemed to have heard something terrifying, and his voice started trembling. Imperial Shrine. Huo Yuhao was moved. He seemed to remember people calling the Holy Ghost Church that before. Then Long Xiaoyao seems to be a member of the Imperial Shrine. He must hold a high position too. It's good that you know. Tell me, what else have you missed? Also, what does the person who knocked you out look like? The evil soul sage laughed bitterly. "I really don't remember, sir. Since you can't remember, I'll help you do so. Don't resist, otherwise you'll bear the ramifications." As he spoke, Huo Yuhao started reciting incantations. His voice became low-pitched and hoarse, but there seemed to be some special magical power about it. The evil soul sage looked at him dumbfoundedly, and let him recite his incantations. Bei Bei also started to break out in a sweat. "This guy is too brazen. Although I don't know what he's doing, trouble might brew if that evil soul sage fights back and attacks him." However, Huo Yuhao was very good at this. In addition, his necromancer abilities were too similar to those of evil soul masters, such that the evil soul sage threw away his doubts after sensing Huo Yuhao's strong necromantic aura. Huo Yuhao's aura was simply too strong. He couldn't resist at all. Moreover, the Imperial Shrine was very respected in the Holy Ghost Church. The evil soul sage wasn't in any position to put up any resistance. A layer of pale white light drifted up from Huo Yuhao's body as he started reciting incantations. Slowly, this pale white light formed flames, which started burning between him and the evil soul sage. The evil soul sage felt his spirit being sucked away, just by taking a look. Slowly, he began to appear very dazed and lost. He seemed to enter a very weird state, as if he had lost his spirit. This was the fire of spiritual control. It was a strong spell that Electrolux had once used to control some powerful individuals before. However, this spell caused a great backlash too. Unless the other party's cultivation was far weaker, even Electrolux wouldn't use it easily. Although the evil soul sage had around the same soul power cultivation as Huo Yuhao, their spiritual powers were vastly different. Moreover, the evil soul sage was still very weak after he was unfrozen. How could he possibly resist the fire of spiritual control? What is your name? Huo Yuhao asked coldly. I am called Chu Yang Wei. The evil soul master replied dazedly. What is your mission in the Heavenly Soul Empire? Huo Yuhao asked. My mission is to aid the Nightmare Doluor and supervise the Sun-Moon Empire's control over the Heavenly Soul Empire. At the same time, I'm here to gather more resources. I am to listen to the Nightmare Doluor's instructions. Where are the two holy ladies? After preparing for so long, Huo Yuhao finally asked the question he was most concerned about. In the corner, Bei Bei also clenched his fists and stared at Chu Yangwei. Chu Yangwei was still a little dazed as he replied, out of the two holy ladies, one of them is at the front line. The other one seems to be in trouble. I heard she was locked away and imprisoned at headquarters. Frontline and headquarters. Huo Yuhao was delighted and continued probing, where is the headquarters? Headquarters. It's, just as he spoke until here, his pupils dilated. Following this, he started to shake tremendously, and his body began to balloon at an incredible speed. Shit! Huo Yuhao shouted. He turned around and leaped towards Nan Qiuqiu and Bei Bei. At the same time, he quickly switched his martial soul to his Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion. He smacked Chu Yanwei's body, causing it to expand at a slower speed. 3 figures rushed out of the room simultaneously. After this, a loud explosion sound was heard. There were even sizzling sounds along with the explosion. Bei Bei's office was blown apart. The huge explosive force went all the way into the sky, forming a grayish mushroom cloud. It was about to spread. Huo Yuhao didn't dare to delay any further. He mimicked a lifting action, and a strong tornado was unleashed from his hands. His ultimate ice soul power shot into the sky, turning into countless snowflakes. These snowflakes engulfed the grayish fog in the air before sending it further up into the sky. Huo Yuhao charged up following this, controlling his snowflakes. He froze them before turning them into a giant, grayish ice ball. After that, he put this ball away in his storage-type soul tool. This prevented the lethal poison from spreading. This explosion alarmed the entire Tang sect. Very soon, many senior figures from the Tang sect gathered. Little Junior, are you hurt? Bei Bei flew to Huo Yuhao's side. Huo Yuhao shook his head before landing. I'm fine. I just didn't expect that some kind of curse was actually placed on Chu Yanwei's body by some senior evil soul master. This soul master's method is really weird. Bei Bei was also given a shock. He could still clearly remember that the explosion of an evil soul master's corpse that hurt many of his seniors during the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament, when he was still a reserve squad member of Shrek Academy. That was also the reason why they were chosen to compete for the academy. It was a soul sage who had blown up earlier. Fortunately, the body of that soul sage was very weak, which was why the strength of the explosion wasn't too great. Otherwise, the 3 of them might not have been able to escape in time. Bei Bei asked, Little Junior, what's this curse you're talking about? Huo Yuhao replied, if I'm not wrong, it must have been placed by a titled Doluor. This titled Doluor must have grown some kind of weird soul power in Chu Yanwei's body. There's even a spiritual aura to this soul power, which is tightly connected to Chu Yanwei's own soul and spiritual origins. When he's about to reveal some secret, he would initiate an explosion using his own soul and spiritual power, just like what we saw earlier. Evidently, anything on the Holy Ghost Church's headquarters is top secret. Bei Bei nodded. Huo Yuhao smiled and said, however, we've already achieved our goal. Teacher Xiao Ya is at the front lines of the Heavenly Soul Empire. This is valuable information. Sister Xiao Dao is at the headquarters. It seems like she's unable to repress the evil fire in her. We must think of a way to quickly find her so that I can help her. Otherwise, she'll do a lot of things she doesn't want to once she loses her rationality. Although Huo Yuhao didn't explicitly say anything, Bei Bei understood what he meant. Right now, everyone else had already surrounded them. Shu Sansha, Jiang Nan Nan, Xiao Xiao and even He Kai Tu were here. Seeing that Huo Yuhao had awoken, they were all delighted. They only knew what had happened after asking him. Shu Sansha looked at Bei Bei. How? No matter where, I'll follow you. When are we setting off? There was a complex look in Bei Bei's eyes. He unwittingly clenched his fist, and his breathing had evidently become heavier. This was their first time receiving accurate information on Tang Ya ever since their second tournament. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't anxious at all. However, the Sun Moon Empire had deployed a few Soul Engineer legions at the front line. There were evil soul masters from the Holy Ghost Church there too. It would be extremely difficult for them to save Xiao Ya. Furthermore, the Tang sect was in a very important developmental stage right now. If everyone was brought along on this mission, failure would affect the future development of the sect. For my own selfish reasons, I can't, Bei Bei said achingly. Eldest senior, don't put it that way. If not for teacher Xiao Ya, there wouldn't be a Tang sect. Third senior is right. No matter what, we'll follow you on this trip. We must save teacher Xiao Ya. Huo Yuhao said with determination. Jiang Nan Nan, Xiao Xiao, He Kai Tu, Ji Juechen and Jing Ziyan all nodded their heads. They all looked very determined. Thanks everyone. Bei Bei peered into the sky. Normally, he was very composed. However, he was clenching his lips tightly right now. He was well aware that they would face many problems if they all went on this trip. Although they were from the Tang sect, everyone knew that the Tang sect and Shrek Academy were almost the same. Once they embroiled themselves in the war, it undoubtedly meant that Shrek Academy would be joining the war. This would affect the entire academy. Bei Bei, make your choice. Shu Sansha said. Bei Bei looked at everyone and said heavily, this matter is of vital importance. I can't decide alone. It's not even something that the Tang sect can decide. Go get busy first. I'll ask Elder Shen and see what he thinks. Everyone nodded. If they wanted to save Tang Ya, they would need to consult the academy first. In addition, they would be more likely to succeed if they had the academy's support. Little Junior, follow me. Bei Bei looked at Huo Yuhao. All right. Huo Yuhao returned to his room to wash up and change his clothes. As he changed his clothes, he couldn't help but think about where his blood-stained clothes had disappeared to. Did Tang Wutong change my clothes for me? I really have to ask her what happened when I go to the academy this time. Bei Bei and Huo Yuhao left the Tang sect and rushed to the academy. On the way, Bei Bei told him about the sect's development during this period of time. According to the academy's plan, the 3 Soul Engineer legions were in the process of being established. A huge amount of resources had been gathered, and the Tang sect and the Soul Tool department of the academy were doing their best to establish these 3 Soul Engineer legions. The threat posed by the Sun Moon Empire was simply too great, such that the Douling Empire and the Star Luo Empire had great support for their efforts. In terms of Soul Tool technology, these 2 empires were lagging slightly behind. At least they weren't on the same level as Shrek Academy. The academy agreed to supply Soul Tools to them at cost price, when they had manufactured sufficient Soul Tools. These Soul Tools could be used to resist the Sun Moon Empire. According to their current progress, the Soul Engineer legions would be fully equipped in less than a year's time. The 3 Soul Engineer legions were already being trained under Xian Lina and Chen Duoduo's tutelage. All the inner courtyard students were involved in the training. They were going to be the main force in the future, and they were also going to be the elite force. In terms of Soul Masters, Shrek Academy never had to fear anyone else. The Tang sect was basically on the right track now. There were more and more disciples in the sect too. Many of them came from the academy, especially from the Soul Tool Hall. Basically, the sect was the same entity as Shrek's Soul Tool department. The students nurtured by the academy had to be tested in the Soul Tool Hall first. This was a win-win situation for both the Tang sect and Shrek Academy. Furthermore, the students had many rare metals to experiment with. This was especially beneficial to their cultivation, which was met with great approval from the vast majority of teachers and students. It wasn't far to travel from the sect to the academy. In just a while, the two of them were already at the east gate of the academy. Ever since the new Shrek city was built, the academy was fully encompassed within the city. It was no longer at the edge of the city anymore. Huo Yuhao also asked about the situation at the Spirit Pagoda. The overall development of the Spirit Pagoda was stalled by the war. However, the academy had experienced great development. Following the increase in the number of successful spirits, more old and dying soul beasts were willing to offer themselves. Furthermore, the establishment of the Spirit Pagoda also reduced the number of humans entering the Great Star Do Forest to hunt for soul beasts. This fulfilled Huo Yuhao's wish when he had first established the Spirit Pagoda. Indeed, there were a few good things going on. After entering the academy, Huo Yuhao and Bei Bei slowed down. Bei Bei was a little puzzled as he asked, "Yuhao, what's going on between you and Wutong? Why did she leave without saying a word after sending you back that day?" Huo Yuhao was helpless as he replied, "I'm unsure too. We faced danger then. She must have saved me. Perhaps she was hurt or too tired. That's why she was rushing back to the academy to rest." He didn't dare to tell Bei Bei that he took 9 stabs for Tang Wutong. If he did, he didn't know how Bei Bei would admonish him. He wasn't afraid of anyone else but Bei Bei. It was like facing Dai Luoli. He had always considered Bei Bei like his own biological elder brother. Bei Bei said, "Since she saved you, you should go and visit her after we report to Elder Shen. This time, Wutong has really treated you well by going so far to save you. I can tell that she likes you." Huo Yuhao revealed a bitter smile on his face. However, he didn't outright reject Bei Bei. He only nodded slightly. Bei Bei brought him as the two of them went to Sea God's Island. They rushed straight to Sea God's pavilion under Bei Bei's lead. When they were outside the pavilion, Huo Yuhao stopped in front of the golden tree before kowtowing. Bei Bei did the same. Huo Yuhao thought to himself, "Teacher, I'm back alive. I faced Long Xiaoyao this time, but I don't know why he let me off. Is it because of you? Or something else? Why did my cultivation improve after I took the 9 stabs? And why aren't there any wounds on my body?" Regarding this mystery, he could only ask Tang Wutong later on. However, he could roughly remember that Tang Wutong had fainted before he completely lost consciousness. How would she know anything if that's the case? It would probably be too difficult for her. Huo Yuhao sighed helplessly as he thought until here. "Why are you sighing? Both of you, come in." Elder Shen's voice came from the Sea God's pavilion. Huo Yuhao and Bei Bei stood up and walked into the pavilion. Among the younger generation, only the two of them and Zhong Xuan could enter and leave the Sea God's pavilion freely. This was because they were all members of the Sea God's pavilion. Without a doubt, they were going to be the leading figures of Shrek Academy in the future. Elder Shen was already waiting for them on the first level. He looked at Huo Yuhao and said, "Yuhao, why do you create a different problem every time you leave? You're a problem magnet indeed." Huo Yuhao tensed up. "Don't tell me that Wutong has already told Elder Shen about our meeting with the Darkness Holy Dragon. Elder Senior will still scold me if Elder Shen blurts it out." However, he had no other choice, since things were already at this stage. He only thickened his skin and laughed, "Elder Shen, I don't know whether I'm fortunate or not. However, I did earn some merit this time. Even if I was wrong in some way, I should be able to make amends for it." Elder Shen nodded and answered, "You did make a mistake, which is to cause trouble for me. However, you did well in the extreme north. Tell me, how did you spoil the Sun Moon Empire's plans? Logically speaking, you can't deal with an entire Soul Engineer Legion on your own." Chiu Chiu's words were also very ambiguous. "She also doesn't know what you did." Huo Yuhao coughed. "It's like that. Elder Shen, I've got some things to report to you. In fact, do you still remember the spirit that I have? Elder Shen thought for a moment before asking, are you talking about that young lady? The cute one? Huo Yuhao nodded hurriedly and answered, yes, huh. Of course I do. How could I not remember such a cute young lady? Why? What has she got to do with this? Elder Shen was puzzled. Even Bei Bei was curious. Even though he all along knew that Huo Yuhao's strength was a little mysterious, this had to do with Huo Yuhao's own privacy. If he didn't say anything, he wouldn't ask. But right now, his curiosity was piqued. Huo Yuhao chuckled and said, she isn't some young girl. Talking about her background, it's actually quite impressive. He recounted how he came upon the embryo of the Snow Empress when he was in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, as well as how he fused with the Snow Empress. He also talked about how the Snow Empress had created a spirit. After hearing his story, Elder Shen and Bei Bei were in awe. The things that happened to Huo Yuhao couldn't be described by the word magical anymore. A human had actually fused with the Snow Empress, ranked third among the 10 great savage beasts. The Snow Empress was only inferior to Di Qian and the Evil Eye Tyrant King, and her cultivation was around 700,000 years. When the Snow Empress was at her peak, even if Mu Yan were still alive, he might not even be able to fight her. If it was in the ice plains of the extreme north, the Snow Empress could even fight the beast god. Such a supernatural being had actually become Huo Yuhao's spirit. No wonder this kid's ultimate ice abilities rose so quickly. Ultimate ice is such a difficult ability to cultivate, but he was able to become a soul sage just like Bei Bei and the rest. So this is why I led the Snow Empress to the core of the extreme north. Under her command, the strongest species of soul beast in the extreme north, the Titan Snow Devils, agreed to help me. I led them and came up with a simple plan to destroy the base and facilities that the Sun Moon Empire's military had set up. Given the harsh conditions, they couldn't survive without their facilities. This was why they could only retreat. Believe me, with the threat of those soul beasts, and given the Sun Moon Empire is so far away, they won't be able to do anything in the short term. Elder Shen's lips twisted after he heard Huo Yuhao's story. He said, that works. You're actually able to tap into the power of the soul beasts in the extreme north. It's really. Hee. Huo Yuhao chuckled. He was blowing his horn a bit, but he was also slightly proud of himself. Elder Shen glared at him and said, don't be too happy. Don't be so reckless when you face something like this in the future. Can't you at least send news back to the academy and wait for reinforcements first? Do you really not trust us at all? Although Elder Shen was admonishing Huo Yuhao still felt very warm in his heart. Yes. Shrek Academy is just like my home. Yes, I was wrong, Elder Shen. I'll keep that in mind in the future. Huo Yuhao admitted his mistake very obediently. Elder Shen wanted to scold him further, but he stopped upon seeing that Huo Yuhao was so repentant. After all, he was already a grown-up. He couldn't help but laugh. You are eager to admit your mistakes, but you won't change your character. Huo Yuhao scratched his head in embarrassment, while Bei Bei nodded in agreement. Huo Yuhao quickly changed the topic and said, Elder Shen, both of us are here to tell you about teacher Xuan. We caught an evil soul master when we went to Heaven Do City. We managed to find out that she's at the front lines. Huo Yuhao was secretly relieved when he said that. Elder Shen didn't seem to know about him and Tang Wutong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be let off so easily. Bei Bei was anxious, and rushed to tell Elder Shen about what Chu Yangwei had revealed. Elder Shen pondered for a moment. Since that's the case, form a team in the Tang sect. I'll think about who I should send with you. Bei Bei was evidently a little stunned. He probed, Elder Shen, we're going to save Xuan. Will it affect the academy? Elder Shen glanced at him. I understand what you're worried about. Don't tell me that the Sun Moon Empire doesn't know that we're going to deal with them. Not only do we have to succeed in saving her this time, but we must also do something useful. This will boost confidence in the three empires of the original Doluo continent. At the same time, we'll bring the Sun-Moon Empire back to the ground. We must think of a way to confuse them. Bei Bei's eyes brightened and he said, Elder Shen is wise. Elder Shen snapped, stop bootlicking. Tell me then, how am I wise? Elder Shen, I'm a little confused. Come, Yuhao, tell him. As he spoke, he dragged Huo Yuhao over. Eldest senior, you're dishonorable. Huo Yuhao laughed bitterly in his heart, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. He thought for a moment before saying, Elder Shen, you're clear in the other areas, but as for the confusion part, we just have to exclude soul engineers. We'll use traditional soul masters from the academy to fight. The Sun-Moon Empire will still think that we're mainly composed of soul masters. Even if our soul tool department has developed, it can't compare to our soul masters. Elder Shen nodded in satisfaction and said, that's it. Right now, Lina and Duo are busy with the soul tool department. I'll ask Xiaozhe to follow both of you instead. He can represent the academy. However, the lessons and training in the academy are quite tight on schedule. I can't allocate many people to go with you. I'll ask Elder Song to go too. With the two of them around, there shouldn't be any problems protecting you. In Shrek Academy, Elder Song was only inferior to Elder Shen. Her green shadow, Godly Eagle, had played a very important role during the Beast Wave. With two transcendent Doluo backing them up, their chances of success were greatly increased. Bei Bei rubbed his hands in excitement. Thanks, Elder Shen. Thank you. This video will end here.